How's it going, Yankee fans? Welcome back to Fireside Yankees with your boys Alex and Ryan. So today we're talking about Montgomery, and obviously this is not an unusual topic for us. We're trying to get any news, really. There's not much going on in the free agent market right now, and Jeff Passan of ESPN reports that the Yankees would love to reunite with Montgomery. Now, let's talk about the cost here. What are we willing to actually pay? And now 31-year-old pitcher coming off his best season. You're buying high, you're buying older, you're buying into a guy that we know what he is. And the most likely scenario is that he regresses a bit to a mean in 2024. And we get a good good 2-3 starter, a guy that has now postseason experience, and obviously a guy that could end up becoming a nice piece in our rotation. And the Yankees are running out of options. They don't want to give away a lot of draft capital, or rather not draft capital, a lot of prospect capital in exchange for a guy like Jesus Luzardo. Who knows? Maybe they want to do that, but right now, spending money seems like the most obvious kind of path to take, based on the simple fact the Yankees haven't actually spent a dollar in free agency yet. So now you ask yourself, Juan Soto's contract, $30 million there, brought in some contracts, but actually I did the math, and Ryan, we're actually going to end up spending less next season. If we were to go about our team right now, the roster, same exact roster we have right now, go into the 2024 season, we'd actually be spending less than last year. I don't necessarily know how that's a World Series winning move, but I think the Yankees are going to spend some money over the next couple weeks. So, why don't you break down this report for us, what Jeff Passan said about Montgomery, if there's anyone else he mentioned with the Yankees, and obviously how you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing well. Kind of as you mentioned, the Yankees have not spent money in free agency. And, look, I know that the New York Yankees, not spending money in free agency, that's not a great thing. I understand. But obviously they have added to their payroll. They traded for Juan Soto. That's the big move right there. Verdugo's about $9 million. Trent Grisham's about $5 million. And I know that some of the smaller moves, they don't really count towards the luxury tax. Like Cody Morris isn't eating a chunk of your luxury tax. He's making league minimum. But ultimately, look at the free agent market right now. There is a standstill. Now, I know that arbitration is going to play a little bit of a role in when things pick up because of the fact that teams are starting to submit those numbers and kind of figure out and hammer out what those are going to look like. I know that we've had estimations as to what these payroll situations are going to end up being with arbitration. I'll obviously that stuff has to be finalized. And then on top of all that stuff, you have the fact that the market just hasn't really gone the way that teams have hoped it would, right? Frankie Montas got $16 million. I think that shocked a couple people in the industry. I think that shocked the Yankees. Honestly, I don't think they were expecting him to get close to that type of money. Obviously the fact that Yoshinobu Yamamoto signed for $325 million. There was a point in time, Alex, where I was sitting here like, yeah, if the Yankees offer like $250, that's an aggressive offer and that's going to get it done. $250 wouldn't have even got you a second conversation with Yamamoto, it seems. Look, I know that it's a frustrating process for Yankee fans, and there's a frustrating process for us. Like, obviously, we don't want to sit here and wait, with no news and no updates and nothing. But at this point in time, the Yankees have their guys that they're interested in. We know that they're interested in Jordan Montgomery. I think he would be a good fit at a certain price point. For those wondering if there's bad blood, Montgomery's cleared up that there's not bad blood. Even when Brian Cashman traded, Montgomery was like, yeah, we traded a pretty good pitcher. We're getting a player we think we needed. It's not like he came out and said, yeah, this guy stinks, not really going to help us. Like, he did come out and flat out say that he didn't think Marcus Stroman would pitch for us in the postseason back in 2019. Brian Cashman's not shy about when he says, he's not shy about criticizing players. If he doesn't think a player is good, he'll say it, right? We just had that whole debacle where he was basically like, yeah, we know Stanton, his story is he's injury prone, right? I saw this post where while Kei Igawa was still with the team, not after his playing career, while he was still in the organization, he says he drives better than his fastball does, which is, the guy, Brian Cashman's can be very unfiltered. And I feel like if there was any bad blood between he and Monty, we wouldn't see the Yankees having genuine interest. And if you're Scott Boras, you're not going to say, oh, well, they traded Jordan Montgomery, so we're not going to play ball at the Yankees. Like, no, if the Yankees offer more money than another team, he's going to take that, right? Like, from an agent perspective, his incentive here is to get as much money as possible, right? And we often hear players like Juan Soto flat out said this too. You know who you can call for an extension. You don't go and talk to the player. You talk to the agent. The agent handles that. That's what makes Scott Boras such a good agent. He handles all of that for the player. But with that being said, Alex, personally, I think the Yankees are going to walk away with a starter. I feel a little uneasy about whether that starter is going to be like a big time guy or maybe just like a swing man, maybe more like a Sean Manaea type of guy. I do think they're going to try to add to their bullpen. I know Jeff Passan mentioned potentially looking to add, they were in the market for guys like Robert Stevenson and Josh Hader and Jordan Hicks, guys of that sort. Personally, I'm not for signing Josh Hader. I would love to see Robert Stevenson in Prince Stripes, though. But, again, like the Yankees are active in the pitching market. There's really only been one massive domino to fall, and that's Yoshinobu Yamamoto. And if the other dominoes fall and the Yankees walk away with nothing, then we can come back here and talk about, hey, the Yankees didn't have the offseason that, we hoped they would have after getting Juan Soto.
Yeah, I mean, look, that was kind of we were just happy to get either one of them, to be honest. Before this offseason started, we were like, if we even get Juan Soto, we'll be freaking over the moon. Now we ask ourselves, is this team actually championship caliber? I think the offense is, right? I think the offense is championship caliber. I think, Soto and Judge alone can carry a unit. Talk about the additions of, like, Rizzo coming back fully healthy, LeMahieu obviously looking good towards the end of the year, Volpe's development and growth, Wells could be a good hitter, Stanton, if he bounces back, you're looking at something special, Gleyber Torres is really solid. I think this offense is championship caliber. The pitching isn't. The bullpen, I think, is. The bullpen, we consistently have a top 5 bullpen in baseball. But the starting rotation could be our downfall. Now, I think that rushing it would be a mistake. I think overspending, forcing something on this team would be a mistake. Garrett Cole is a championship-level pitcher. He's the guy you have in there, on short rest, pitching Game 7 of the World Series. That's just the way he is. That's the guy you want in there at that given moment. He's got the nerve for it. Looking at Carlos Rodon, has he had much playoff experience? No. But again, at his upside, at his peak, you got something special there. Carlos Rodon, if he bounces back, your 1-2 pitchers are very good. That 3 spot is where I get concerned. Nestor Cortez, I don't trust him right now. Love Nestor. Great dude. He is obviously very talented. But that left rotator cuff injury is concerning to me. I'm a little nervous it's going to be reoccurring. So I got to see a little bit more from him in that consistency department. Clark Schmidt, he's a good pitcher. He has really good stuff, but he's inconsistent. We've seen flashes of what his upside looks like, and Garrett Cole being his mentor is certainly a good thing. So I think that Clark Schmidt, if he takes a step forward this year, he's going to be a good 3-4 guy, probably closer to a 4. I wouldn't be surprised if season, as we roll on, Cortez ends up becoming our 5. We need a 3. Montgomery, in fact, is a perfect 3. Shane Bieber is a perfect 3. I think that adding 2 pitchers would be ideal, but, if we're only able to add 1 and we wait until the trade deadline and you still have Will Warren making moves, maybe he looks solid, I think you can survive a Shane Bieber or Jordan Montgomery at 3 easily, like without question, without fail. Obviously, one is going to require a bit of money. One of them is going to require a little bit of capital to offload. Now, the contract differences, Ryan, are significant. And I'll ask you this question, because I think it is a reasonable question to ask. If you go and you sign Montgomery to, let's say, a $150 million deal right now, and you're paying him, I don't know, $25 million per $27 mil, something in that range. Or you go and get Shane Bieber, who's owed an estimated $12.2 million in his final year of arbitration. That contract now comes off the books, and maybe you look to save that money and make a big splash on a player like Corbin Burns next offseason. Is that which direction are you going in? Get Montgomery now, or get Shane Bieber now and then save the money next year and make a run at Corbin Burns? Or do you get Montgomery and, utilize his consistency, obviously coming off his best season, to make a push at a World Series right now? Or maybe you go after both. I think that's not out of the equation to say you can get Bieber and Jordan Montgomery and make a real push this upcoming season. And maybe that's what the Yankees are thinking, and just trying to wait to see what the market looks like, and not trying to be used as leverage. They like Montgomery. They want to bring him back, but it's not going to be easy, and it's not going to be cheap because he's coming off his best season. Which kind of avenue would you go in this direction?
Yeah, so Shane Bieber is definitely a guy that I think would be, kind of perfect in the trade market. But Jeff Passan kind of, hinted at the idea that he might not get dealt, right? Like, he might not be a guy that the Guardians are necessarily feeling like they have to trade, which does suck. But also at the same time, right, it's not bad if you try to revisit that at the deadline, right? Again, you try to talk about the framework of a deal, and then you try to revisit it later on. I would rather have Shane Bieber on that 1 year kind of flyer, so that I don't have to commit long-term money, and kind of let myself stay a little bit financially flexible, so that we can kind of evaluate what the team needs next year or the year after. But look, Jordan Montgomery is stability, right? Like, Jordan Montgomery is stability. Shane Bieber doesn't provide that same level of stability. And, Alex, we've sat here and talked about how, we're uneasy, right? And, you got the two lefties in Rodon and Cortez, where that's question mark 1 and question mark 2, right? How good those two pitchers are going to determine a lot of what you are next year. Can Rodon bounce back? I think he can, but as you mentioned, right, like there are concerns. You can't just say, yeah, he's just going to, have a healthy offseason, because we can't guarantee he's going to be healthy. That hasn't been a consistent theme for him in his career. For Nestor Cortez, right, like is Nestor Cortez going to look like the pitcher he was in 2021, 2022, or will he look a little more like the one he was in 2023, which was an ineffective starting pitcher? You mentioned Clark Schmidt as well. Like how much better is Clark Schmidt going to get from 2023 to 2024? If it's not if it's marginal at best of an improvement, he's a fifth starter, right? So you're going to need to find a guy that slots in ahead of him. Obviously the Yankees have some minor league pitching depth at the upper levels of the minors. Chase Hampton's a guy I think every Yankee fan should be looking out for. I know that people are talking about, well, what about Luis Gil, Clayton Beeter? I'm going to be bold here. If the Yankees were to go for, if the Yankees to pick between like Clayton Beeter and Luis Gil, just go with Chase Hampton. Like just go with Chase Hampton at that point. Like I think his stuff is that good. But you can't ask a rookie to be your fifth starter and not know that comes with risk as well. So, obviously Will Warren's in that equation too. I think Will Warren, Chase Hampton, those are the two guys I look at and say those are the only rookies I would consider starting caliber on opening day. But like I don't really know what the Yankees are going to do, right? Like Jordan Montgomery financially makes like it could be a complicated situation where it's like his market's here, the Yankees may only want to go here. And look, maybe his market falls, right? Like maybe I know the Mets are not going to be in. The Red Sox are more active on the trade market according to Passan, and I mean, sorry, they're just cheap as hell. Like they're not being big money spenders. Not really concerned about them in a bidding war. You have teams like the Phillies who could get involved, but how aggressive will the Phillies be? There are just a lot of questions, right? Like who's involved in this Montgomery market? It's like the Dodgers are in. The Giants really aren't in. It's not like the Angels are really in. Like it really does feel like the Yankees are, and the Rangers obviously the incumbent team, but the TV deal, that's become a consistent theme of reporting where it's like, hey, the TV deal makes it seem like the Rangers can't really pony up what it's going to take to get Montgomery. The Yankees feel like the best positioned suitor to land him in terms of finances, in terms of fit, in terms of, desire to go out and get him. But like, will they meet his market? Will his market come down? I don't really know. Is the market inflated more so for guys on 1-year deals? Like, did Frankie Montas get $60 million because the Reds are like, hey, who cares if it's a bad 1-year contract? We're either going to be bad and he'll be good and we'll trade him. We'll be good, he'll be good and we'll go on a playoff run. Or, we'll be good, he'll be bad, or we're bad and he's bad, and we just let him go in free agency. Like, it's not really, like, a big risk. So perhaps they were like, hey, we have to jump on an opportunity to get a guy who comes with, like, no risk for us because there isn't that same pressure to go all in. Where in the Yankees' perspective, it's like, hey, if we're going to shell out $16 million, we need to get a guy who threw more than 1 in the third innings last year, right? Like, the Yankees are in a really weird spot. They have to be selective, but also they can't do nothing. It's a very odd, like very precarious situation. You can't just get anybody. Like you can't sign Michael Lorenzen and say, oh, that's an addition, because I don't even know if he's better than Will Warren. I'd say no. I'd say he's not better than Will Warren. But you can't at the same time say, all right, we're going to do nothing. We're just going to run it back with the pitching staff because there are a lot of risks. So I don't envy Brian Cashman's position right now. I don't envy Hal Steinbrenner's position right now because I don't really know how this market's going to shape out. But if you ask me, hey, Ryan, put your money on it. Who do you think the Yankees are going to get? I'm going to go with Jordan Montgomery at this point. Like, I think that's the likeliest candidate. It's not Yankees versus the field. Like, Yankees have like a 60% chance to get him. It's more like they have like a 35% chance to get him, and everybody else is just a tick below.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm seeing online right now that Jeff Passan thinks that Shota Imanaga's deal could be worth north of $100 million. It's not going to be cheap, man, to get one of these pitchers. But end of the day, the Yankees have the financial resources. They have it. Like, we're going to see some movement here in the next couple of weeks. I'm pretty sure of it. It's just a matter of exactly how the development of these contracts are going to look in the leverage, obviously. But, guys, very curious to see what you think about these pitchers. The reunion with Monty, I know we've talked about this extensively. And any updates, we got you guys covered, as you can tell. Make sure to like and subscribe as always. And we got you guys on the next Fireside Yankees episode tomorrow.